World Bank President Robert Zoellick has urged all countries to become responsible stakeholders in the shifting world economy. Zoellick made the remarks in a speech at George Washington University on Wednesday, ahead of the annual World Bank and IMF meetings later this month. Mike Kellerman reports from Washington.
Zoellick outlined his vision of how international lenders should begin what he called a new multilateralism, adding rich nations should no longer be able to dictate to developing nations in what he described as a new world economic order, far different than the old.
In a world beyond aid, assistance would be integrated with and connected to global growth strategies, fundamentally driven by private investment and entrepreneurship. The goal would not be charity, but a mutual interest in building more poles of growth.
Zoellick said the world has reached a critical stage in its economic development and warned rich nations they must fix their current deep structural economic problems to allow for emerging economies to grow and prosper.
Unless Europe, Japan, and the United States also face up to their responsibilities, they'll drag down not only themselves, but the global economy.
Reaction from the audience of students and teachers was positive.
The poles of power and wealth in the world are shifting, and that obviously that means any kind of multilateral global governance has to be more inclusive.
Zoellick says he will present his plan to change World Bank IMF strategies for fighting crises with aid to policies that sustain economic growth at next week's Bank IMF meetings here in Washington. As outlined in his speech, Zoellick's new vision of the economic global order, beyond aid, concludes that the World Bank and the IMF must change the way they operate, that they must recognize that emerging economies need to be encouraged to develop entrepreneurship and capitalism and trade, and that aid should no longer be the primary goal of the international lending institutions. Mike Kellerman, CNC World, Washington.